We are live.
The meeting of the Committee of the Whole Operations is now called to order. I would ask you to rise if you are able for the reading of the invocation. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness where freedom prevails and where justice rules. We acknowledge the rich history of this land, which includes the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee peoples. Today, there are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who live or work in the city. The intent of this acknowledgement is to recognize our responsibility to use and take care of these lands responsibly and respectfully, while remembering the generations past and considering the generations yet to come. We respect and seek to continue and promote the long-standing relationships with these areas and First Nations, the Six Nations of the Grand River First Nation, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Indigenous peoples who reside within the city of Brantford. Let us not also forget those who served our community and who are no longer with us so that we can continue to do the work we must in their memory. May be seated. Clerk, has the roll been taken?
Through the chair, roll has been taken.
Members of the committee, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest appearing on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, at this time I will ask the committee members if there are any items they wish to separate for discussion purposes. Please note that the following items have automatically been separated. 6.1.1, Master Servicing Plan Amendment. 6.1.2, Transportation Master Plan Update. 6.1.3, Brantford Airport Report. Councilor McCreary, can you please move the motion? Oh, you have one? Sorry, Mayor Davis.
Sorry, you didn't say 6.1.4, did you?
I did not.
Well, could you please add it to the list of items to be separated?
Okay, not seeing any others. Councilor McCreary, can you please move the motion to approve all items for consideration consent, not separated for discussion purposes?
My seconder is Councilor Martin, and so moved, Chair.
Okay, I would ask the clerk to please read the titles of all the items that are subject to the vote and then proceed with vote.
The items subject to the vote are as follows. Item 6.1.5, update on emergency procurement to address nitrates in the Grand River. Item 6.1.6, Grand River Ice Jam study update. And item 6.2.1, the minutes.
Call the vote.
All items not separated for discussion carry on a recorded vote of 9-0. Those voting in favor: Mayor Davis, Councilors Sokoli, Caputo, McCreary, Martin, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
Members of the committee, we have one delegation. Prior to hearing the delegation, I would like to remind those in the meeting today of the following rules of decorum as set forth in the city's procedure bylaw that apply. No person shall display any sign, banner, or place card in the meeting room other than materials that, in the opinion of the chair, are legitimate audio-visual aids necessary in connection with any presentation to be made to council. All persons present shall use polite and respectful language and shall refrain from the use of any language or the making of any gesture that is disrespectful or offensive. All persons addressing council shall speak only on the subject in debate and shall not speak on any other subject. No person shall applaud participants in debate or engage in conversation or behavior that may disrupt the proceedings of the meeting. I would like now to ask Mark Littell to come forward and speak to item 6.13, the Brantford Airport Board Report, number 2025-1117. Please state your name for the record. You have 10 minutes inclusive of questions.
Press the button on the base of the microphone on the right-hand side.
No. Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and councilors. My name is Mark Littell. I live at 116 William Street, Brantford, Ontario, in beautiful Ward 2, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the motion at tonight's committee meeting. I have the privilege of serving as chair of the Airport Commission, and the motion you are discussing tonight passed almost unanimously. There was one vote against it. The city of Brantford has operated this fine facility for several decades. The airport lands that the city owns is almost 400 acres, providing significant opportunities for growth. The airport is a significant economic tool to not just the city of Brantford, but also the county of Brant, Hamilton, Norfolk, Woodstock, and more. In other words, it is a regional airport. There are a lot of businesses that use this facility, including the Blind School, Ministry of Natural Resources, OPP, Orange, and industry like SC Johnson and more. As we often say, when industry looks to relocate, they don't just look at taxes, but also the roads in and out and whether we have an airport, excuse me, to meet their needs. We recently undertook to prepare a vision statement. And as you're all aware, the vision statement says there's a lot of opportunity for growth in the region. The airport has recently increased the number of small hangars for general aviation that are quickly filling up as opportunity grows for the airport, as larger airports, Hamilton, Kitchener, Toronto, London, are looking to expand their commercial operations. We are now at the need to further expand our airport as the demand continues to grow. I had asked staff to prepare a slide if they could kindly put that up. Hopefully they've got it. Here we go. So please note these are preliminary drawings for discussion purposes only, and staff have done a tremendous job of preparing this, and it shows a lot of opportunity at the airport to expand. Not just to valuable airside growth opportunities, but also non-airside as demonstrated by the slides. This would include organizations like Conestoga and other industry that does not need airside operations. But there's a cost to upgrade the facility for the development of the land to make it productive, but also to airside, including lighting, runway, taxi repairs. Receiving the taxes and development charges would go a long way to assist this. We need to continue to grow this facility, but we need the tax base in order to do this. Thank you for your time.
Questions? Council Carpenter?
Yes. Welcome, Mr. Littell. So did you, this resolution was on the agenda, the one that's in front of us was on the agenda of your last airport board meeting?
Yes,
Okay. Did you poll any members of the airport board to see their position on this in advance of the meeting?
I spoke to the majority of them, yes.
Did you speak to the one that voted against it?
No, I did not.
And who was that?
I have no reason to not that.
Or who was the one that voted against it?
Mayor Bailey.
Okay, and was that the first meeting that Mayor Bailey was at as a new member of the airport board from the county?
Yes, he just replaced Councillor Garneau.
Thank you.
Council Van Tilburg?
It's a big question you were putting forward. Was there a reason that you engaged with the other airport board members and not the new member, being he's the mayor of the
Well,
county that you want to engage?
I don't believe I engaged with all of them. I engaged with the majority of them.
Okay. And when you state that you need the DC charges and that, you're basically stating not you, the city.
That's
needs
correct.
this versus the county that receives them now.
Yes.
Has it ever crossed the airport board's mind to sell the property to the county?
I don't
And
think that would be an
then-
option,
Hmm?
but I wouldn't recommend it as chair or a member of the
Nope.
airport commission.
But it's an option.
Well, everything would be an option. I believe that there was an evaluation done for the facility.
Okay, so where did we come up with the idea that that you needed that help from the county?
There's infrastructure repairs that are necessary and needed. And instead of costing the taxpayer of Brantford all the money, we had asked the county to give half of that.
Half,
Yes.
okay. Yet the city owns, the city in, you're on behalf of the city, you're essentially running the business that is there.
Well, the city runs the business, yes.
What's the role of the airport board then? Just if you
Advisory
could
board,
clarify, that would
council.
be helpful.
Just an advisory board to council.
An advisory board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Littell, is it not true that the county makes more in property taxes off land leases than what the city makes off of the lease itself?
It would be very close, Counselor. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but could probably get them for you.
Okay, and
But it is a substantial amount of money.
okay, and some people say that it's a playground for rich people, but the rents we get from the T hangars and the commercial hangars is what makes the airport financially viable, is it not?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Secoli?
Hi, thank you for being here today. How long have you been on the airport board?
I believe since 2019.
So quite some time. Has the county ever, in your recollection, expressed an interest in collaborating or being a little more hands-on with the running of the airport?
Well, I forget what year it was, Counselor, but we did add them as an advisory position. So it was the mayor when I was on here, and then it became Counselor Garneau, and now it's the mayor again. It's just an advisory. They have a vote on there, but everything is decided by council, not by the airport commission.
So they've never said, hey, we want to be a little more hands-on in running this alongside in a collaborative role with the city?
I think that sometimes they had indicated that they would like to contribute. And
Okay.
that's what they had said before, and that's why we had asked them for part of the repairs that need to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Not seeing any other. Thank you, Mark. We'll discuss your item shortly.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, we have two staff presentations tonight. We'll now move on to staff presentation. I'd like to ask Mike Abraham to come forward and begin your presentation. You will have 10 minutes to present.
Good evening, Mayor Davis and city councilors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present tonight on the Master Servicing Plan addendum. My name is Mike Abraham, Manager of Infrastructure Planning. With me tonight is Guanling Zhang, Senior Project Manager in Engineering Services, and Jennifer Elliott, Director of Engineering Services. In general, a Master Servicing Plan is a long-range planning document that identifies the infrastructure, in this case, the water and wastewater infrastructure needed to support future growth and maintain existing levels of service. In addition, the MSP also takes into considerations climate change, infrastructure optimization, network resilience. It outlines where and when upgrades and new infrastructure is required, compares alternative solutions, and ensures that municipal services are planned in a coordinated, cost-effective manner. There are numerous reasons to develop an MSP. The city's previous MSP, developed in 2020 and amended in 2021, was primarily driven by a number of factors such as the city's boundary expansion, anticipated growth, updates to the city's OP and DC bylaws, as well as wet weather issues, climate change, and improvements to our overall service levels. This time around, the primary driver for this MSP amendment, is related to growth management and project cost updates. The 2025 MSP amendment services as a critical reassessment of the long-term infrastructure strategy in light of evolving land use density trends. The original 2021 MSP was based on a lower density growth scenario, projecting a citywide population of approximately 162,000 by 2051. However, recent development applications and provincial planning initiatives indicate a shift towards a higher density ambitions that exceed the assumptions made in our 2021 Master Servicing Plan. For this MSP, our vision is to support efficient growth by aligning servicing strategies with how the city is expected to develop, while making the best use of our infrastructure we already have. We're also focused on long-term sustainability by identifying solutions that are reliable, cost-effective, and protect the environment. We've updated all project costs to reflect current market conditions, which will be integrated into our ongoing DC background study. Continuing on, our objectives include creating a clear defensible capital program that outlines when projects are needed, what triggers them, and how they should be prioritized. We've also focused on making the most of our vertical infrastructure by identifying upgrades to support growth without requiring new costly facilities or systems. And lastly, building flexibility into the plan so we can adapt to changes in growth patterns. Due to the shift in growth trends since 2021, the 2025 MSP introduces a low, medium, and high growth scenarios that allows staff to test different growth patterns, rates, and forms of development, ranging from compact to more land extensive layouts to understand how each scenario affects system capacity, timing of upgrades, and long-term capital cost. These growth scenarios were developed in collaboration with development engineering and our planning staff based on block planning development applications. In summary, the low growth scenario produced a total population of 188,000. The medium scenario produced a population of 209,000. And the high scenario produced a future population in 2051 of 228,000. A sensitivity analysis was undertaken to evaluate how variations in population and employment growth would affect the city's water and wastewater infrastructure requirements. The analysis compared servicing needs and capacity utilization under the different growth scenarios. This assessment tested the resilience of the servicing strategy to ensure that infrastructure could accommodate a range of future growth conditions. The result indicated that the high growth scenario provides the most prudent, robust, and adaptable framework, allowing the city to meet projected demand while minimizing the risk of undersizing key infrastructure components. As a result, the high growth scenario was selected as the preferred planning base for the 2025 Master Servicing Plan Amendment. I'm going to ask Guan Li to talk about the water and wastewater strategies.
Thank you, Mike. And for servicing strategy update, it started with the level of service review and the service analysis in the water distribution system. The preferred water service strategy continues to align with the approach established in the 2021 Master Servicing Plan, maintaining the existing pressure district delineation in the city. The 2025 amendment keeps the.
Sorry, Guan Li, can I just ask you to speak into the microphone? It's getting very difficult to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. The 2025 amendment keeps the overall servicing framework, but introduces updates to the project phasing, system upsizing, and cost estimates. In general, the preferred water servicing strategy consists of 2 new elevated tanks in the north, as we can see on the map to the north of King George Road, and then the other one in PD4 for the west. There is a potential 3rd elevated tank in the future if needed by the development, and then depending on the future servicing capacity upgrades requirement there. And also the strategy calls for upgrades to the existing pump stations like the Tollgate pump station and Wingwanski Parkway Park Road that pump station. It also upsizes the existing water mains to support growth and intensification in the established area, also address fire flow requirement. There are new trunk water mains introduced to support greenfield development. For the water treatment plan, we evaluated existing treatment capacity and potential opportunities for the various processes at the plant. We considered alternatives to increase capacity to service growth. The option is preferred for decommission ozonation to repurpose the space and tanks to add capacity. It also helps to delay and potentially eliminate the need for a future Arctic flow train as a third one. So overall, these alternatives reduce the cost and the construction time, reduce operational complexity, and the lower construction impacts on natural and cultural environment. Implementation is a staged approach with short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. The short-term being the next 5 years is mainly to design, construct, and commission the reverse osmosis filters with its performance monitored over the time, and this would enhance and help to confirm the preferred method for odor and taste treatment. For the wastewater system, similarly, we reviewed and evaluated the servicing system, like a servicing demand in the system. Incorporated development inputs were available. As detailed in the two maps shown, the capital program updates are mainly triggered in the north and also to the heights, the expansion lands. The 2025 Master Servicing Plan addendum added the new pump stations, associated force mains, and trunk sewers in the expansion lands. Upgrades to existing pump stations are also required and vary from rehabilitation and increase in pumping and wet well capacities. For the wastewater treatment plan, we reviewed and identified 4 upgrade alternatives with consideration, and it's recommended to increase the capacity with addition to sludge thickening and UV disinfection. It will enable higher solid concentration in digested biosolids, so to reduce the required landfill storage and hauling cost. This service upgrade will reduce footprint comparing to other alternatives and reduce effort and cost in operation for chemical handling and management. It also improves performance, especially for the digester, and it's a lower cost.
Sorry, Guan Li, we've reached our 10 minutes. If there's any objections of moving forward, moved by Councilor Seinbach, second Kemp. Call the vote. How much time do we want to add? 5 minutes.
Thank you for that, and then we'll be finishing very soon. So overall, it maintains the area at the wastewater treatment plant.
We'll call the vote. Sorry, Guan Li.
The motion to add additional time is approved. I carry on a recorded vote of 10-0. Those voting in favor: Mayor Davis, Councilor Sullivan, Sokoli, Caputo, McCurry, Martin, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
All right, thank you for that. And then, so overall, the wastewater treatment plan recommended option would maintain the area for future expansion beyond 2051.
Thank you, Guan Li. Just waiting for the slide to change. There we go. It's an important slide, so we shouldn't miss it. This slide summarizes the updated capital program for both water and wastewater for the next 20 plus years. For water, we are forecasting about 587 million in required investment. And for wastewater, we are forecasting about 508 million. Together, these figures show the scale of infrastructure renewal and expansion needed to keep levels of service reliable and to service our expansion lands to the north and Tula Heights. I know the last slide presented had some high investment figures. However, most servicing needs for water and wastewater are directly related to growth triggers, meaning a large percentage of the investment required is eligible for recovery through development charges. This is represented by the DC versus benefit to existing class column in the table, which a classification of A means a growth driven and most likely 100% coverable by DCs. Both programs and the MSP information will be used in the city's ongoing DC background study to confirm the percentages of DC eligibility. The second point in this slide is the cost percentage difference between the low growth scenario and the high growth scenario, which is only approximately 5.2%. Meaning the high growth scenario, which is far more robust, adaptable, and feasible when it comes to comparing to the lowest growth scenario we tested. Just to conclude, I would like to give a thank you to the staff in our planning department, the individual groups in Public Works for participating in and their contribution to this master servicing plan. And lastly, the council providing an opportunity to present. Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, Mike, you and your team, for providing us with this update on what is a critically important part of the infrastructure needed for the boundary lands and also the Mount Pleasant to Tula Heights lands. Question for you, that last slide where you had the dollar, the costs. So a large part of it will be covered through development charges and it doesn't impact the property taxpayer. Do I assume much of the rest of it comes from sewer and water charges as well?
Through the chair, that is correct.
All right. So the intent is that the system is self-financing the whole water, wastewater system, even the capital expansions and the growth in that system, it self-finances. It doesn't go into someone's tax bill.
Well, we do have the sewer and water main rate study.
Yeah.
Which does get updated. These costs would be incorporated in that and the DC background. So it should, growth is paying for growth. And when we do need to renewal something that's more on the existing side, we should have the funding to do so.
Okay. And at the various lines that you have entering into the boundary lands, both water and wastewater, which of those lines do you consider to be most critical for the first stage of the developments contemplated in the boundary lands?
In the north boundary lands,
Yeah.
So that is your King George water main, and it's going to be your northwest sewer and water services as well. The northwest is your main drain line for majority of the boundary lands, and first thing we do need is get water surfaces up there. So that's why that King George Road is a primary prioritized as a main key infrastructure piece.
And the water service that will be used to service the industrial lands, the employment lands that are at the far western end. Well, so does that water come from the King George water tank, or will it be coming up from Paris Road
That would be
or Oak Park?
that would be the Homedale plant. Yeah.
All right, but the line going up to the employment lands in the western part of the boundary lands.
Oh, that would be through Oak Park Road and crossing the 403 to the northwest service area. The Paris Road water main is a redundant line.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll go to presentation for Transportation Master Plan. Mike, you're up. 10 minutes, please.
All right. All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is James Clark. Senior Project Manager with Engineering Services. I'm joined virtually by Paul Pumstead, also Senior Project Manager, and then Mike Abraham and Jen Elliott are still up here with me today. Pleased to be here to be able to present on the Transportation Master Plan 2025 update. The presentation today will summarize the purpose of completing the update to the Transportation Master Plan, or the TMP, this year. We'll look to summarize the process followed to conduct the update, and then present the conclusions to the study, including the proposed implementation plan. The Transportation Master Plan is a long-range, high-level strategy that sets out Brantford's transportation vision to 2051. It looks at balancing growth, sustainability, and mobility for the transportation network. The purpose of completing the update to the plan this year is to ensure population growth projections used in the TMP are in line with current policies, as well as the pace of growth in the city. Accurate projections of growth in the city are key in anticipating the problems and opportunities within the transportation network, and then recommending a plan to address them. Another key objective is to ensure the cost estimates associated with these projects reflect current conditions, and they can support future capital planning and budgeting. The TMP update follows the master planning approach number 1 that's outlined in the municipal class environmental assessment. That is to say, the plan follows what's called a broad level of assessment following the first 2 phases of the municipal class EA. You can see those boxed out, phases 1 and 2 on the left of the screen. Other individual transportation projects may continue to complete all phases of the municipal class EA if applicable on a project by project basis. This slide breaks down a little bit more the steps that were followed to complete the Transportation Master Plan. The vision and guiding principles for the plan were carried forward from the previous document from 2021. And then we began looking at a technical analysis to reestablish the problems and opportunities in the transportation network. That was followed by identifying and evaluating alternative solutions to address those constraints, and then finally updating the city's recommended transportation plan. Is it just that's okay, Jen, just leave it. No, that's perfect. The consultation and engagement is a key part of the Transportation Master Plan update. We can see on the slide here, many stakeholders were engaged through the process. This included First Nations, so 6 nations of the Grand River, and Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, as well as staff from the County of Brant, the MTO, and internal city departments. The city also held a public information center that was held in June of this year to collect feedback from the public on the project. So similar to the MSP, a key variable is growth scenarios when looking at the Transportation Master Plan update. The goal was to reconfirm the population and employment projections. The 2021 TMP was based on a lower density growth scenario. That's shown as the low or the base scenario on the left of the screen. However, recent planning initiatives and trends in development are pushing towards higher densities. In response to that, the TMP update introduced a medium, or what's called a hybrid scenario here, and a higher density scenario. Those were to evaluate how increased population growth would impact the transportation network. So the TMP carried forward both this medium hybrid and also the high scenario in our transportation assessment. So looking at network performance, the 2 growth scenarios established, the performance of the network was assessed by updating the city's transportation modeling for both the medium and high scenario. The assessment and sensitivity analysis showed that travel demands for both networks were very similar for the 2 scenarios, and therefore we carried a high scenario forward for future analyses. Planning on the high scenario will provide a more robust, adaptable plan, and it'll also minimize risk of undersizing key infrastructure. The figure on the left shows the existing road network projected to 2051 if we were to make no improvements to the road network at all. The yellow and red lines indicate corridors that are approaching or at capacity, respectively. And as you can see, there would be many constraints in the city if we made no improvements going forward from today. The figure on the right shows the same conditions after completing the work outlined in the current 2021 Transportation Master Plan. So as we can see, there's much less, but still some constraints that would need to be looked at and corrected moving forward. Based on our updated modeling and understanding of the network, we were able to identify 7 key focus areas that were selected as seen in this figure. These are the areas we wanted to look at alternative solutions and then evaluate to determine the preferred solution going forward. This analysis included reconfirming some solutions that were already identified, as well in some cases looking at new solutions to be added to our recommended plan. Multiple alternative solutions were identified for each focus area and were subject to a high-level evaluation. And that assessment looked at criteria such as the transportation improvement, natural, cultural, and socioeconomic environmental impact, and also cost. Where applicable, a more detailed environmental assessment will be forthcoming. There would be some more in-depth in-field studies that would take a closer look at the project level. This is really a high-level assessment, gives us that order of magnitude of the pros and cons, the impacts and benefits. The preferred solutions were selected and they were carried forward into an updated recommended plan. So this slide shows with the concluded evaluation, we have this updated recommended transportation plan. The plan is comprised largely of projects that were previously identified and supplemented some additional projects to address constraints identified from the focus areas. The new projects consist of some transportation system management improvements on various corridors, as well as a widening of a section of Gulf Road. The table also indicates the status of various projects in red. Many of those are undergoing or about to be proceeding with environmental assessments, which is the key next step in project delivery. Also worth noting, capital costs for all projects were updated. We did this looking at unit rates, estimates that were derived mainly from road transportation projects in the city over the last few years, as well as project-specific cost estimates. The updates account for inflation and market fluctuations we've seen in recent years, and these will be utilized for future capital budgeting and carried forward for the DC background study. So in conclusion, this gives us an updated 2025 Transportation Master Plan, provides an updated framework for Brantford to continue to support future growth and level of service to 2051. Thank you very much.
Okay, some questions? Councilor Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at the charts and under the do something, do nothing, we have yellow lines that can turn into dark red lines depending on our actions. I'm looking at Erie Ave, and what I see are changes all around different areas, particularly on the other side of the river. I don't see how that red line does not happen. You've got it as going that the changes we're doing are going to reduce or keep us under capacity on Erie Ave, a 2-lane thoroughfare. So what are we doing that I'm missing that reduces or keeps us below the overcapacity red line?
Certainly. So it is important to remember that sometimes there's sort of a network-wide effect of certain projects. So as multiple projects happen, maybe not specifically on Erie Ave, they could see a benefit and see a reduction in the transportation and the demand to that corridor.
No physical change to Erie Ave.
All I'm saying is if there's improvements around a corridor, it could see less traffic.
I'm asking in the transportation master plan, are there physical changes to Erie Ave or not?
That's not recommended, no.
And we have significant traffic from outside the corridor of the city coming up through the south of Erie Ave. Coming through as a thoroughfare on a 2-lane road that is bottlenecking now with significant residential development in the Burkett Lanes Baldwin area. Thousands of
Councilor Van Tilburg, we're past our time. Would you like to just keep your question till we bring this up for debate?
No, my question is for the staff here, and I'll just finish at that. What are we doing about the expansions, the people coming in, and how does this?
Councilor Van
changes-
Tilburg, the
how
10
does the
minutes are
changes
up.
that you've put forth reduce the rate of traffic use on Erie
Mr.
Ave?
Chair, I'll move that we extend,
I'll second it.
Okay.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, everyone call the vote.
The motion to extend the time is carried on a recorded vote of 10-0. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councillor Sullivan, Coley Caputo, McCreary, Martin, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Van Tilburg, Jennifer Elliott, Director of Engineering Services. So you are correct that there is no upgrades identified in the Transportation Master Plan to Erie Ave. From the modeling, it has identified that as we increase access in other areas of the city, it reduces the traffic that will be dependent on Erie Ave.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Coley.
Yes, thank you. My questions are almost all pertaining to the West Arterial Road expansion, which is a hot topic for us in West Brant. So, as far as next steps go, once we approve this at council, it goes to 30-day public period, and then it gets, public review period. Am I understanding that right? And then it gets adopted in our estimates process next year or this year's?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct. It would be next year.
Okay. And at one point, the West Arterial Road was going to be 96% funded through our DCs. Is that still the case for this project?
Yeah, through the chair. So the other update will be a DC background study that's forthcoming as well. So information from this can be forwarded into that. No change confirmed yet on the DC split in that, but that would be the document that would set that forward.
Okay, perfect. And the plan, is this list that we see here, is this in order of importance or in order that we can expect to see the work being done at this point?
Absolutely. So through the chair, so it is laid out in a short-term, medium-term, and long-term layout, but that is subject to sort of through capital planning, capital budgets. There could be some slight tweaks in that. So you can see even some projects in the medium term, the environmental assessments have begun or they're looking to begin soon. So there's some flexibility, but this is certainly from the modeling point of view, from the point of view of this study, the kind of the urgency or severity for the projects to be addressed.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councilor McCreary.
Sure, thank you. Welcome, folks. Hypothetically speaking, if we had possessed ourselves already of a West Arterial connection, including a river crossing, do you think the horrendous traffic conditions downtown today would have been somewhat lessened? Hypothetically speaking, of course.
Through the chair to you, Councillor McCreary, hypothetically speaking, yes, that would reduce some of the traffic that is seen at this point in time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilor Carpenter.
I see King George Road's on the list. It's been on the list for as long as I can remember, probably 35 years. King George Road widening has been on the list. So we put these things on our list and we don't do them, which has happened over progressive councillors. We just make this problem worse, and then we review a transportation plan, look at it again. Is that how we work?
Sorry, so the King George Road, there's some short-term or near-term work that's been added. That's transportation system management work. So it's not a widening per se, but it's some improvements to try to improve the flow of traffic on that corridor. And that was just added with this iteration of the transportation master plan. So I can't speak to some past work. It wasn't in the 2021 plan, maybe.
No, it's just
Jen or
off the
Mike.
list. Now, the Fairview corridor, as it approaches King George Road, it seems to be poorly designed where traffic there's a turning left lane, a right lane, and then there's 3 lanes in front of that where people are zigzagging across each other to get into that lane. That just probably needs a bit of widening and adjustment so that you have 2 lanes going straight and 1 lane turning left so that you can actually get into the proper lanes. Is that on the list?
Through the chair, we do have part of focus area 3 where we're going to be looking at access to the highway. So looking at transportation system management improvements. So that would be any operational improvements, intersection improvements, lanes, etc.
And then just one final question for all of engineering, I guess. Maybe we could adjust the lights. Did we adjust the lights accordingly with the road blockages and construction that's going on? Have we adjusted the lights to move traffic more freely? It seems like the lights are not working in sync.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Carpenter. So yes, our operational services department has been looking, we've been conversing with them quite regularly on adjustments to the traffic signals due to road closures.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mayor Davis, and you have 15 seconds.
And I'm the one that put forward the motion this time. I see the word failure in reference to some of the arteries, in particular Brant Ave. What does failure look like? Does a street disappear? Does it blow up? Like, what exactly is a failure?
Sorry, so through the chair, were you saying that it's referred to as a failure in the
No.
TMP
No, it
documentation?
says by 2050 or some earlier date, Brant Ave, amongst several other major arteries, will be, it says failure, at failure stage. What does that mean?
So there is some slides that just show what the network would look like if we proceeded without making improvements. Like, this is what I think you're referring to, Mayor, is the just showing how capacity gets bad. We get to that orange condition, we get to that red condition on some of these corridors. But the plan laid out in the transportation master plan, this update looks to address large amounts of those, certainly on corridors like Brant Ave that see a lot of traffic today.
Okay. What does failure look like to the average road user?
So certainly, so through the chair, so failure would look like, especially at peak hours. So you're looking at commuting in the morning or in the evening, bottlenecks, backups at intersections, difficulty making turning movements, just frustration generally, and at those key times. Those are what we would look at as seeing constraints in the network.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Carpenter, can you please read the motion to place all separate items for consideration consent not previously voted on the floor? State your seconder.
Moved by myself, and seconded by my ward mate. Thank you.
Okay, so now we will take up item 6.1.3, the Brantford Airport Report, as there was a delegation. And I'd like to note that we will be discussing first the 2025 airport update, and we will secondly be discussing the restructuring options for the municipal boundaries. So with that, any discussion? Mayor Davis.
Yeah, can I have that diagram that Chair Littell had in front of him? Or get
Can we
that?
bring that up, please?
Yeah. So we're waiting for it to come up, but I'll tell you why, Chair, because I want the committee members to understand what the vision is for the airport, because we realize that the airport has to transition beyond what it is now. It's not going to survive long term if it stays in its current format, which is really servicing small private plane owners. It has to be more robust. It has to better serve the aviation industry. And you know what? there's land there to do it. There's about 100 acres of land that could be developed. And this is an example in front of you. This would be the first, and this would be the area that's beyond, if you're familiar with the airport, it's off York Road. It's where those candy stripe airport hangars are, the oldest airport hangars, or where the police used to train their dogs. And so you can see from this that we're very excited by this. This is the first concept. This would be like a mini industrial subdivision, to be the first of probably 2 or 3 moving down the east end of the runway. And you can see it includes industrial space adjacent to the runway. And then also in the interior, you can see there are other industrial lots. And the problem that we have at the airport is that, as we all know, it takes money to develop an industrial subdivision. You have to find the money to pay for the grading, for putting sewers in, curbs, gutters, laying it, you know what it is, and it's very expensive. And the challenge we have at the airport is we really have no way to finance it other than asking members here to add it to the ratepayers' tax bills. However, and that's because due to the unusual situation that the airport is owned by the city, run by the city, but it sits in the county. And so the county receives the benefit of any property taxes. And also, if we were to sell some of and the idea would be to sell some of these lots to be able to finance the expansion, but we would not receive the development charges, which is intended to be paid towards developing infrastructure, nor do we see the ongoing taxes. So the reality is there's really no way to finance this vision, which I'm sure we'd all agree would be great if we could do that out at the airport. And so this resolution, and we've tried various times with the county, let's be honest. I don't want to be critical, but we know we've tried various times, both at the airport commission committee and also through various joint service committees. We've tried to include the airport as an item of discussion. That's been rejected by the county. And so we've had really no way to discuss how this is done, despite the fact that we've had members of the county on the airport committee that have heard us discuss at length what needs to be done. And have we ever heard any one of them say, including Mayor Bailey, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's look at how we can do this together in partnership. It's never happened. And so this resolution before you it's a sense of frustration on the part of the airport committee. And what it's intended to do is it's a message to the province. We need your help to facilitate these discussions. And the province can decide, one, not to respond at all.
Point of order. Which resolution are we debating here?
Yeah.
Is this not the first one?
We are debating the first one, which is the airport update.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm rolling them all into one.
I would like to ask if we can keep our debate to the first item, which is the airport update.
Okay.
So I'm going to close you out at that.
Close me out and put me on the list.
I'll put you on the second call list.
Now I get
Councilor
that.
McCreary, please.
Are you expecting me, Mr. Chair, to speak to the first item?
I am, which is the airport update.
Whatever the mayor said, ditto. I really did want to speak to the second item, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Then we'll have that as soon as we finish this discussion here, please. Councilor Van Tilburg, you're on, or Councilor Carpenter, you're up. Are we speaking to the first part of this?
Yeah, there's 5 parts, so I don't know which one, how you did this first part, second part, third part. Okay.
Can we put it up on the screen?
But I will.
Councilor Carpenter, you're up.
Okay, so speaking to one of the parts. So I see in the report from the airport facilities manager that they had a community engagement process. They brought in cadets from the 60 cadets from the 104 Starfighter Squadron for their first experience. And then they talked to them about aviation opportunities. That's great. They also see in the report that they said on December 6th, there's a Santa Claus fly-in Is the community invited to that? I'd imagine the community is invited to that. I haven't seen that anywhere in any communications other than here. I've noticed it. So maybe Orseo, is the community invited to the Santa Claus flying into town event that's going to be held on the 6th of December at the airport?
Through the chair, just to confirm, the airport manager's report is from the Flying Club.
Yes.
So that's their initiative. We don't, unless they ask us to promote something, they don't, but we can follow up on that and find out what the status of that is and whether.
Oh, so that
whether
might be
there's-
for the people that fly it, people that are members of the airport, that fly planes in and out of the airport for their families. That's what that Santa Claus is for.
It is a Flying Club initiative.
Okay, I just want to comment, it's a good initiative that they've done with the 104 Starfighters. I think that's a good program. Secondly, the airport, I'll leave it at that. I won't go into long issue. I'll deal with it later. Thank you.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yeah, I just want to say that having looked at those draft plans, I think it's nice to see a presentation of growth for the airport. How we get there will be the next phase of the debate.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to answer part of Councilor Carpenter's question, the Santa Claus event was an event put on by the Flying Club, and it's meant to increase awareness of the airport. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in Brantford that don't even know we have an airport. This is something I ran into when I worked at Chatham. Back then, the Wheels Inn was a real popular place, and someone flew into the Chatham airport and they asked if they had courtesy transportation. And I said, well, I don't know. Let's call them and find out. And the woman who answered said, you mean the London airport? I said, no, the Chatham airport. She said, Chatham doesn't have an airport. That's where I was calling from. So we have a bit of the same problem here in Brantford. And another part of this first section is we're introducing a fee for large aircraft in the rate of $300 per month. There's a new business at the airport and they deal with larger aircraft. And this is something where we'll see some revenue from those aircraft that are parked in the tie down areas. And that's something that's very good for the airport. It'll increase the revenue for the airport. And so hopefully this first section will be accepted by council. I think it's good for the airport and it's good for the city as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further first-time speakers, going to second-time speakers. Mayor Davis, did you want another kick at this cat or do you want to just wait?
Well, I'd like to kind of like a point of order or point of personal privilege that you're probably thinking, is the mayor losing it? Like he didn't even know there was two parts. That's because the main agenda only has one part, 6.1.3 of the resolution. It doesn't have the two parts. So I'm not losing it. I was looking at the main agenda, not the sub-agenda. Just one clarification.
Would you like to speak on this, Phil?
No. Other than I support it.
Councillor Secoli.
No, I was waiting for part two.
Not seeing any further speakers. Clerk, can we call the vote for the first part?
Brantford Airport Board, Part 1, carries on a recorded vote of 10-0. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councilors Sullivan, Secoli, Caputo, McCreary, Martin, Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
We'll now move on to the second part of this, which is the restructuring options to the municipal boundaries of Brantford Airport. Councillor Secoli.
Oh, I get to start. Mayor Davis is chomping at the bit over here. I was pleased to read this. I'm definitely going to be supporting it. And I just want to note that this is nothing against the county. They have their own strategic priorities, their own prerogatives and things that they're working on. And they've been given ample opportunity to collaborate with us on this joint venture and have expressed really little interest in doing so. And there's so much potential for us here in this airport that will benefit both communities, but it's almost impossible for us to maximize this potential with having 1 foot in, 1 foot out. 1 foot in because we manage and pay for a lot of the development there at the airport, but 1 foot out because we gain very little on our investment as far as property tax and DCs and things like that. So I hope that our partners at the province will see the potential in helping us streamline this economic developer, not just for Brantford, but for the entire region. So thank you to the work that's been done with the airport board. I'm happy to support this today.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to get clarification that this resolution as written came directly from the airport board. Is that factual? And I'll take it as factual. I have a problem with it. And I have a problem with it for a specific reason. I would hate all our other entities, whether it's ambulance, what have you out there, commenting on, say, the airport board or any other thing. And I've got 4 clauses here that I believe are far beyond the scope of the airport board. They should be speaking about their business and not about conflicts between the city of Brantford and the county. So what I would first like to see are the very first whereas 4 clauses removed from the resolution, as they are all little to do with the airport board and strictly criticisms and critiques between the city of Brantford and the county. Do I have a seconder?
Do you have a seconder?
Chair, as a point of order, let me suggest that we vote on those clauses independent of the remainder.
My motion is to strike them. Or sorry, were you saying to vote?
We could vote
independently
on
the
each one
striking?
individually.
Oh, my apologies.
Do you have so we'll just vote on each one independently when it gets to that time?
Through the chair for clarification, you want to vote on the whereas clauses independently?
I want them voted as being struck down, and if they wish to vote on them independently, I guess that's the will of the councillors.
Why don't we just vote on all 4 and then we'll do the rest of the motion? Okay, is that fair for everyone?
Through the chair, we would have to hold that until we go to the vote.
Okay.
And you wait for any other discussion to resume first.
Councillor Van Tilburg, is there anything else you want? Well, you still have the floor.
No, I will wait till my second speaking opportunity.
Councillor McCreary.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Let me be the first to say that I believe the mayor has our wholesome support in saying as a group that we do not think he is losing it. No, I don't think we need to make an amendment on that, Mr. Chair. I think we're good. I want to say, first of all, that I'm completely in agreement with what's before us. The airport has been something that we've had a relationship with for a number of years.
Point of order?
Sometimes we,
Was there a motion on the floor to delete something?
no, the motion was to vote separately on those clauses.
When it comes to the vote, we will be voting on with Councillor Van Tilburg wants the first 4 and then the rest of the motion.
Okay, could you start my clock over?
You're good. I never started to begin with.
Thank you. So as I was saying before I was procedurally interrupted, I do support this fully. I've always supported the airport. It's often a bit frustrating to see them coming to us continuously with things that would not be coming to us were they a municipal service corporation. And that is something that I think we need to be acting on this year coming, so that they have the independence to be able to fundraise, to be able to direct their own activities as a corporation. So having said that, within the context of what's before us, I don't see anything in the resolution that would necessarily restrict us asking for the province's leave to incorporate this as part of City of Brantford boundary, that would also prohibit us from trying to ascertain whether the province would allow us to annex from the City of Brantford boundary out to the airport. And I think that may be a discussion point that could be elaborated upon. No, another day, Mr. Chair. I also want to address the rough treatment that the delegate received from members of this council while he was sitting in the chair. I don't think that was appropriate for former Councillor Littell to have been interrogated as roughly as he was. I think it crossed a line, and I think it would be highly appropriate if there was an apology coming from somebody at this table regarding that. Thank you.
Mayor Davis.
First of all, in the whereases, I think they're critical for the province to fully understand the context of the request. And certainly those of us that sit on the airport board, we've been following very closely what's been happening between the city and the county, because so much of that is in relation incidentally to the airport. And the only way that any progress could have been made in regards to joint partnership with the airport was through that system. I'd like to more talk about, what a province, this is designed, let's call it the main body of the resolution. It's in essence a request of the province. And how can a province respond to this? I mean, one, they can just ignore it. Two, they could do this, or they could appoint a facilitator, as they did in the SC Johnson file. But whether they do this, Section 174, or appoint a facilitator, it's in essence like mediation, appointing a mediator that would bring the parties together for the first time in a long time to be able to talk about the airport and how it best be managed. And if that's not successful, then how you bring it into the city so that it is successfully managed. I remain optimistic that with the assistance of the province, we can arrive at a solution with the county that has us working to improve the airport in partnership. Some kind of sharing arrangement in respect to property taxes, some in respect to development charges, because clearly development out there benefits the county as much as it benefits the city and benefits our regional economy, and makes much better use of an asset that to some degree is underutilized. So, and what you saw in that diagram, that's 40 acres of potentially about 110 acres that could be developed in around the airport. So I'd like to move beyond the give and take between the city and county and look at what it is we need to do as a council to move this forward. How best do we manage the airport? How do we best develop the airport? How do we let the airport achieve its fullest potential for the benefit of all of us? Certainly what's been going on the last 6-7 years ain't doing it. And we need to do something different. And this is it.
Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier, we had a presentation about the transportation master plan. Quite often when you're talking about transportation, airports get left out. 1 mile of highway will get you 1 mile. 1 mile of runway opens up the entire region and beyond. And that's something that corporations looking for a place to locate. That's why an airport is essential. SC Johnson used to run airplanes between Brantford and Racine with their executives going in both directions. Unfortunately, our customs has been reduced. Their customs hours have been reduced to the point where it's not appropriate for or suitable for SC Johnson. So they end up going into Hamilton. We're working on getting that changed. I've been lobbying our MP, and unfortunately, because he's on the opposition side, it's hard to get anything changed, but he is working on it, and hopefully we'll see some change to that soon. But one of the problems that we've had with the airport is it was always difficult getting council to buy into doing improvements at the airport, because anything we build there, the property taxes all go to the county. And that's why years ago, we approached the county with a proposal that they grant back half of the taxes of anything new that we build. That would see an incentive for the city to put money into the airport and build more buildings, more hangars. And it would see an increase in revenue to both the county and the city. And they chose to want all of nothing instead of half of something. So they actually voted down something that would increase their revenues. And we found that very surprising at the time. And it was asked if the county's ever offered to work with us at the airport. They've offered, but when it comes to a vote, they vote no. And we saw that recently with the upgrades we wanted to do at the airport for the runway lighting, which is so old, we can't get replacement parts for it anymore. So it's something that needs to be updated. And also there's a precision approach lighting system that needs to be updated as well, because it hasn't been there for a number of years because it become unserviceable. So these are both safety issues that we were hoping the county would chip in, because at one point they said they don't want to do anything in the way of granting property taxes to the airport. They wanted to see a one-off project. So well, here's an inexpensive one-off project. Hopefully they can contribute to it. And unfortunately, they said no to that as well. And as for helping at the airport, with the recent T hangars that we're building, one of the things is that they insisted on was a hydrant at the end of each row of T hangars. And that would be the equivalent of a fire hydrant every third house on the street in the city. Now, if somebody here can say that they have a hydrant every 3 houses on their street, I'd really like to hear it, because that is definitely overkill. That is a huge waste of money. But that's something the county insisted on in the site plan approval for the T hangars that we got. So that was part of an extra $150,000 that it cost us to build the T hangars. The other half of the 300,000 increase was because of the tariff on steel, because we didn't get the T hangars finished in time, but that's a whole nother issue. And as for the first 4 clauses in the resolution, as the mayor indicated, that sets the stage for the situation that we're in, where the county gets all the benefit with none of the expense and none of the responsibility. We were hoping years ago, when we put a county rep on the airport commission, that we might see at least some action from the county. And we've had some good counselors from the county on the airport board who advocated for the airport at county council. Unfortunately, they were unsuccessful in swaying them. And Mayor Bailey was on, and then he quit. That's how we got Councillor Garneau. And then when she quit, we got Mayor Bailey back. So I'm hoping that all of this will pass. And if we can pass it unanimously, that sends a better message to the province. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, we work with the county on several initiatives, the John Noble Home, social services, paramedic services. And there is correct me if I'm wrong, a 72.9 and a 27.1 split that is somehow negotiated. But we also have a city-county liaison committee, and I'm wondering if, considering this resolution came from an advisory board, if it would not be a more appropriate thing to refer this to an actual committee of council. And so I think I'm going to ask for another amendment after the amendments, that this second resolution that came, as we've heard, directly from the Airport Advisory Committee, so it wasn't generated by anyone around this table, that it be referred to the City County Liaison Committee for a report back to council.
So with an amendment, do you have a seconder for it, or do you want to wait to do that at the very end?
Let's see, Councillor Van Tilburg going to second that.
Okay. That's 30%.
Can I call a point of information? Can someone share with us the mandate of that committee before it goes anywhere? Because I'm not certain that this aligns.
Through the chair, I can note, and I don't know whether there's an updated terms of reference for the City County Liaison Committee. Most of our shared services agreements with the county have a dispute resolution process outlined in the agreement. And usually in the first order, it's to refer to City County Liaison Committee. And I believe both municipalities appoint council members to that committee. Again, I don't believe it has a clear terms of reference. And then if the City County Liaison Committee doesn't resolve the matter, then it goes to a joint meeting of council and usually to a mediation or arbitration. So generally the historic role of City County Liaison Committee has been to try to arbitrate disputes through existing shared services agreements. I guess it would be up to this council whether it wanted to refer this to that committee, and that committee would have to make a decision whether it's prepared to consider it.
So if I could just speak to my amendment. I find it highly unusual that we're considering a resolution that came, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but the entire time that I've sat on this council, we've never considered a resolution that came directly from an advisory committee or a task force. And so I think that we have a committee, and it's a city-county liaison committee, which our CAO has already indicated is to, the entire purpose of that committee is to work towards mitigating disagreements between the city and the county. This, I can tell you, is going to be a huge disagreement between the city and the county. And so I think it's prudent of us to refer this resolution to a committee that does exist for the very purpose of mitigating these, negotiating these types of agreements. Short of us trying to make amendments to remove whereases, the entire resolution itself didn't come from council. So anyway, I'm trying to look at this from being a conciliatory approach, that we have a committee that is designed to work out disagreements, and so why wouldn't we refer it to that committee?
Councillor Hunt, your 4 minutes are up. Would you like to go back into the queue? But I would like the clerk to clarify how this particular amendment would be handled.
Through the chair. So this is a referral. So it's specific to time and place only. In this case, you're referring it, location is the City County Liaison Committee, and then time would be the next available scheduled time. In this case, what I would just mention is this recommendation would go to the December council for ratification. At that time, clerk's team could bring forward a memo confirming the mandate of the City County Liaison Committee to clarify whether this is the appropriate location for this to be considered.
On the referral. Yeah. But we're still talking going forward. Councillor Carpenter still talking. Oh,
Through the chair, referral is debatable to time and place only. So unless there's a are we
Okay.
deferring it or are we referring?
Point of order, if it's a referral, it's still debatable. It's a deferral that's debatable, and it's not debatable. Just help me.
Councillor Carpenter. On the referral.
Is it deferral or referral? I haven't heard from the mover whether that's the case. So it's debatable?
It's a referral.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I'm not up for that. My hand was up before the referral came up.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yeah, the reason that I'm supporting Councillor Hunt's referral is that I think it's also imperative to show that every last avenue has been tried. It would be thrown back in our faces that if this went before the next phase, that they could just come and say they didn't even try a process that exists. The other thing is that it can come before them and they can say that this is not in order or is in order for what they handle. So I believe that the referral is in order here for us to send it to those parties.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From what I heard tonight, this committee where they want to send this is one for dispute resolution. Well, we don't have any kind of agreement with the county about the airport. There is nothing in place that says they contribute X to the airport. There's nothing that says we have to have a county representative on the airport board. And that's something that might change given the level of support we've seen from the county. It's also been said that this resolution shouldn't come from an advisory committee. Well, that's what advisory committees do. They pass resolutions to come to council, and then council decides what to do with that resolution. That's from every advisory committee. That's how you get something in front of council from an advisory committee. So to suggest that that's inappropriate is completely wrong. And, I won't be supporting the amendment on the floor because I don't think it's appropriate. We don't have an agreement with the county to dispute. There's nothing there. And, we need to send this off to the province to hopefully get some kind of change that will help us develop the airport for the benefit of both the city and the county and Norfolk and surrounding areas. And the one pitch we made to the county, we offered to change the name of the airport to the Brantford Brant Regional Airport. And the one question was asked, well, how soon are you going to change the name? And my response was, well, when you give us some money. They voted it down anyway. So it's something that I think what is before us is entirely appropriate. And I think it needs to be passed the way it is and sent to the province so that they can decide whether they're going to do anything about this situation that we're in. Thank you.
Bill, on the merits of the referral, Councilor Van Tilburg.
On the merits of the referral, it was mentioned that the,
I've not yet a first speaking opportunity on it.
correct.
My apologies. Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I can tell you this, I've looked at this a lot and did right in the second year I was mayor, which was looking for a way in which we could engage the county on the issue of new joint services. I've looked at this exhaustively. Maybe some of you would discount my opinion. That's fine. But I'm telling you, the liaison committee, what that's there for is when we have disputes arising out of current agreements. Could be the joint school board user agreement. It could be the John Noble home. Could be almost went to paramedics this year on the budget. That's the committee that's designed to deal with those issues. It's not designed to deal with discussing new potential joint services. That's why we have now on two different occasions, the last council and this council set up a joint services committee so that there was a vehicle for discussing that jointly with the county. And we thought this go around that we were having a good opportunity to do that. The committee was formed. We had county members. The county members agreed that, yes, we should talk about the airport. It goes to county council. They meet in secret, no transparency. They shut down the committee and frankly flipped us off.
Point of order.
That's exactly what they did. So
Point of order.
that
Mayor.
is,
Not speaking to the.
sorry
Can
if
you
I'm
please
being
speak to the referral you're first speaking?
I'm speaking to the referral because we've tried to find a way to do that with the county. It hasn't worked. That's why this referral to the liaison committee is just simply more dithering on an issue that's critically important to the future of the airport. And nothing will come out of it. I can guarantee you that.
Councilor Sakoli.
I was gonna say everything Mayor Davis said, but now I don't want to get a point of order called on me. But I'm not going to be supporting the referral because I don't think the referral or this topic is in alignment at all with the referral body's mandate. I do think it would have been in alignment with our joint services committee that was disbanded after secret and camera discussions. So not going to be supporting it. I do think it's absolutely appropriate that this would have come up from a committee to us for discussion to decide if we want to do it. I don't think there's any point in referring this to another body to have a look at, especially a body that's already proven to not have any interest in working with us after given ample opportunity. So will not be supporting this referral today.
Councilor McCreary.
Chair, thank you. And through you to staff, am I understanding correctly that referring this to that committee does not in any way interfere with us passing this at council later this month? It's my understanding that referring this to that committee, whose name I completely forget, even though I've heard it a number of times tonight, will not in any way, shape, or form impact upon our ability to deliberate this and approve it at the end of the month.
Through the chair, because it's going to council, the item that's going to be ratified at council is the referral to the committee. So you would not be approving the motion as it stands. You'd be approving the referral to the committee.
Okay, so thank you for that clarity. So I think it's imperative that we act on this. I agree with the commentary that's been made that the committee really is a body that's meant to arbitrate disputes between city and county. There's no dispute here. We're simply asking the province of Ontario to allow us to begin to recognize the fullness of our expansion of our boundaries, to recognize our growth abilities, both financially and in terms of geography. And I don't see that referring this to a committee made up of city and county representatives accomplishes anything other than kicking this down the road. So I will not be supporting that referral. And by the way, I do recall sitting in a room just like this in another building a number of years ago, where we consciously made the decision to allow advisory committees, such as the one chaired by Mr. Littell, to bring forward resolutions, because most of us at the table felt that this is the way to empower committees, to empower the community to provide the input that we need, not by just nodding their heads at agendae that are produced by city staff, but by initiating things for the betterment of the community. That's why we did that those many years ago. That's why this is here before us today, because the community represented by these folks thinks this is a darn good idea, and we're going to pass that tonight.
Okay, Councillor Hunt, first time speaking on the referral. Second time speaking on referral.
Yeah, second time speaking on the referral. So not that I'm not offended by everyone thinking that this is a bad idea, but we have the opportunity to refer this to a liaison committee to work it out ourselves. Instead, we're going to kick it to the province, and somehow we think that that's going to be more effective. So I think that working with the county on this is a much better way to go than just sending it to the province. And I'm also wondering, do we have a mover and a seconder for this resolution that's before us? The main one?
Through the chair, when we moved the motion to consider all items for consideration and consent, it was placed on the floor, moved by Councillor Carpenter and seconded by yourself.
Councillor Hunt, so you done?
I apparently am done.
Councillor Van Tilburg, second speaking.
No, I think the council will probably decide which direction this goes. I saw wisdom in the fact that I believe we should give this option a shot. But if that's not the will of council, then so be it, and we will let the cards fall where they may. I sincerely believe that Councillor Hunt's solution is superior to the one that I had with regards to striking the clauses. So I'll just leave it at that and take the vote, see how the vote goes.
Councillor Martin, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been suggested that we need to discuss this with the county. We've discussed this with the county many times. We've gone with several different offers, several different setups, and we've been rebuffed every time. All this amendment will do is delay things. It'll kick it down the road a little ways, but it won't resolve anything, because nothing will come out of that committee that will change anything on this, in my opinion. And I think it's strictly a waste of time. This is something we need to move forward on. This has been going on for far too long, where the county is receiving all the benefit and not taking any responsibility or contributing financially whatsoever. So I think we need to pass this as it was written and move forward with this.
Not seeing any more speakers, we'll call the question of the referral.
The referral is lost on a recorded vote of 4-6. Those voting in favor, Councilors Carpenter, Hunt, Samuel, and Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Mayor Davis, Councilors Sullivan, Sokoli, Caputo, McCreary, and Martin.
We will now call the question on the
No,
removal.
no, you won't. You'll go back to the list.
There's still more discussion. Okay. Councilor Carpenter.
Thank you. For first time speaking, many others have spoken twice, by the way, and you know who you are. So, first of all, we asked the airport, we asked the county to pay for half of something on the airport. Any other area, as my ward mate has said, it's usually a 70-30 split, but we asked them to pay for half of a capital need that we had at the airport. We didn't ask them to pay 30%. This was our usual thing for other properties. And then we have in here about the council leadership role. We established a county shared services committee. You know, that first meeting went, does anybody know? Well, that meeting went with the mayor of the county of Brant being insulted by a member of this council. That's what happened at that particular meeting. And then we had a future meeting where we were doing a housing opening, and we had a member of this council make a gesture over the mayor's head, which was caught on camera, by the way. Then we had an event at the airport where the member of this council refused to shake the mayor of the county of Brant's hand. So, you know, when we talk about saying, oh, the county doesn't want to work with us, maybe we should start by trying to be amiable and work with them. Maybe we should start by being polite to our county councilors and treat them as equals and with respect. And we wouldn't be in a situation where they say, why would we want to work with you when this is how we get treated? Now, there's lots of witnesses to these events, and I don't know why we think we can convince the county. We haven't worked with to suggest that we can do better, because I think we need to start a process where we're working better with our county cousins instead of the other way around. So that's my point on this. That's why I won't support this, because this is now saying, well, the province is going to help us out if you won't do what the province is going to help us out. And so if we wanted the airport lands in the first place, then what we should have done is taken when we did the boundary adjustment, the airport land should have been included in instead. So, or if you're looking at maybe making a change, you could meet with the county and say, we'll give you back 400 acres over here, and we'll take these 400 acres over here. But this is more like a land grab. We want this money. We want this property. Can you imagine if you're a member of, I live in the county, I got a house in the county, but I fixed it up and I put a new driveway in, but my taxes went up. So I want the county to say, come on now, this is benefiting the community and the neighborhood, the street looks better. You should give me some money back for this, because look at what I did to the community. That's what this sounds like to me. Like, so, we got land we own in the county. We want to put some money into it. So, but we want the county to say, well, thank you for that. We're going to give you some of that back or help you out that way. Well, we need to have a better cooperative approach when we're working with other politicians that surround us.
Second time speaking, Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To explain why we asked for half of the project, years ago, the city put millions into resurfacing the runways at the airport. And the city has put hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time into T-hanger rows. And what we asked for from the county was half of a small project, a couple $100,000 on an issue that addresses safety at the airport. Something that's critical for bad weather landings, so that airplanes can see the runway, and so that they can have a precision approach lighting system to help guide them to the runway button. And we didn't feel that half was unreasonable because of the size of the project and the fact that they said that they were willing to help with capital projects, but they didn't want to contribute any of the property taxes. So we thought, well, this is exactly what they're asking for. And we made the request, and it was rebuffed. So their comment that they were willing to partner with us and contribute to a capital project obviously wasn't sincere. And so because of that, we're left with the option of going to the province and saying, this is something that we need help with. Either give us the land or give us some money to help with developing the airport or something. And we won't know what the province is going to say or think about this until we send this to them. And hopefully we'll get their attention and something will come of this. what is hard to say, but hopefully something will come of this. And as for respecting the county, it's a two-way street. They don't deserve respect unless they're willing to give respect. And so in that case, you know, to say that we don't respect them, well, it's reciprocal. So it's our only option now is to send this off to the province and see what they say. As the mayor said, there's 3 different ways they can go. There's probably another 10 variations of those 3. So it's and we won't know until we send it off and see how they respond. And it would be a better show if this was passed unanimously, but I don't see that happening tonight. So it's hopefully it passes with a good majority, but we'll see when it comes time to vote.
Counselor Van Tilburg?
Yeah, it was stated that, perhaps my, motion to withdraw some of the clauses was that the airport board shouldn't be piping in on the resolution itself, and that's not the case. This is the place where the resolution should come forward. What I was considering is that an airport board had overreach on where they were going with this clause. This is a clause that could be drafted by a member of council at council based on a report from the airport board. And that's where I see a difference. In other words, it just looked like too clever by half, a little too heavy, and coming from a board, I thought, this is not what I want to see other boards get into. I don't want to see them getting into the weeds on these issues where there's a joint service committee that they actually aren't part of. Maybe counselors or people are, but they are not. They are not in the room. They are not in the discussions. They may be discussed about, but they're not there. And therefore, it's beyond their scope. And that's the only reason I was bringing this forward. Not that I'm even against perhaps the direction that we have to go, but I want to make sure that everybody's in their proper wheelhouse. The airport boards within the airport, the city has went through every exhaustive process before we take it to this step, and then we take it to this step. We're probably not going to do that, but I would like to see that. We'll see where the votes go. Thank you.
Counselor Carpenter?
Second and final time, right? Yeah, I'm able to count, Councilor McCurry. That's how I know. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I hear it all, quite frankly. So how did this get to us? Let's examine that. So this came as a resolution to the airport board, and then members of the airport board were polled to see how they could support this before the airport board meeting, and that's probably fair. But this is the first meeting where the mayor of the county of Brant would attend his first airport board meeting since the replacement. So the timing is of concern. So the mayor of the county of Brant, who's also on the airport board, was not consulted or polled before this came to the airport board meeting. It was on the agenda, but before it came to the actual meeting. So I just want to put that, this process is concerning for me. Thank you.
Counselor Martin, second speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been suggested that an advisory committee should not be sending resolutions to council. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. It's exactly what they're supposed to do. This is a committee that's made up mostly of citizens. If members of council don't want to take citizen input, they don't want to consult our citizens, then by all means vote against this and say it's inappropriate. But this is a way of public consultation. This is something that comes from citizens from our community, and it's a form of public consultation. And I'm surprised that some members of council want to vote against public consultation, that ones that championed it on another issue. You can't have public consultation on the issues that you support and not on the ones that you don't. So I see this as depending on how members vote, they're being hypocritical, and I'm very surprised at that.
Point of privilege. I am not hypocritical. I sit on as a council liaison to an advisory committee, and I do know that 6 months ago, I was specifically asked to bring a resolution forward from that advisory committee. It didn't come from the advisory committee directly. So correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the process.
Point of order, is this a speaking opportunity about her
No,
experience
it's
or
a
is she
point
calling a
of
point of
privilege.
privilege?
Point of privilege that she's,
You don't just get to talk about how great you are.
it's a point of privilege. Carry on, Councillor Hunt, please.
Well, I think I just covered the point of privilege.
Councillor Martin, you finished?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was, thank you.
Mayor Davis for his second speaking.
He's had two already.
No, I had one. I had one to the first one.
You had one that you said was only,
Which I
this is the
mistakenly
second speak, this is the
spoke to.
third speak. Oh, I'm
No.
not gonna stay for the,
Do I have a speaking opportunity or not?
Yes, you do, Mr. Mayor, because you spoke twice on the referral, twice, and this is your second speaking on.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting a little hot here and I don't think it's necessary. I don't want Councillor Carpenter storming off, so I won't talk. I won't take the third speaking opportunity, which actually was only the second one, but third in total.
Not seeing any more hands. I'm going, Councillor McCreary. Yes, I'm going to speak here, please. So this is the first time that I've actually seen something about the airport in 15 years of living here that actually makes sense. This is something that talks about some type of growth, expansion, and various opportunities for us to be able to enhance an airport that I think the residents of Brantford are really interested in wanting to have. Okay. And to have discussions on this, it's sad that we have to bring it to the province to do this, but if I haven't seen anything in 15 years, so what makes it look like anything's going to change going forward? So I'm supporting this amendment. I'm not supporting the referral, nor the motion to the whereas, and we will speak to the actual motion on the table after that. I think this is an excellent idea, and I'd like to see it move forward. Councillor McCreary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It certainly has been a lengthy and emotional debate this evening. And I see that there are members of this council, one in particular, who is a strong advocate for the county of Brant, and for the mayor of the county of Brant. And I would suggest.
Point of order, Councillor McCreary, will you please speak to the,
I am.
no, you're not.
No, I am.
No, you are not.
I am too. Yes.
Will you be speaking to?
Yes, I'm
what's
speaking
different?
to the resolution before us, which calls on the province to provide us with the annexation of the airport lands.
Then keep it to that specifically.
Did you get a rule book today? Anyway, what I want to say is it's unfortunate that in this debate tonight, we have members of this committee who appear to be advocating for the county of Brant as opposed to the best interests of the citizens of this city.
point of order. You know what the point of
Well
order
noted.
is. You just
Yes.
come on to me.
To what's in front of us, Councillor McCreary.
I would
Point
suggest-
of order, Mr. Chairman. The previous speaker spoke about respect for the county and disrespect, and that's exactly
Or
what.
can you call the vote, please, on the referral?
I believe I still have the floor, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I still have.
So what are we voting on?
So let me say, I would suggest if a member of this committee wishes to advocate for the county, there is a seat vacant in the county currently for which any person who has property in the county could apply and then represent the county.
Again, not speaking to the resolution.
Can we? All right. Okay, folks. I am now going to go right to the vote.
Through the chair, to clarify, are we going to the full vote or would you like to go to the separated?
The separated whereas is first, please. All four together.
I believe it was requested that the whereases be separated by Counselor, the four. Oh, so what, are we going on the main body?
Just
We are voting on the first four whereases that you wanted,
Individually, each
all
clause?
four
or as
at one
four?
time.
Well, can I
I just want to
clarify
know.
what it
I
is
wanna
I'm
be
voting on?
Yes.
So this is this is just simply to separate. It's not to strike. Gotcha. So if you support the whereas, you vote.
Very good. I understand.
Yeah.
That's correct. What you see in front of you on the screen.
We need that clarified? Yes means they stay in.
Can you change my?
Hold on. I thought these clauses were to be separated individually and voted on individually as asked by Counselor McCreary.
The discussion was that we separate the first four and we voted separately from the actual motion.
Okay, then striking them would be voting no.
Striking them
and
would be
keeping
voting
them would
yes,
be voting
keeping them
yes.
in is
Okay,
voting
very
yes.
clear. Thank you very much.
Okay. Striking these from the motion will be removing them. Voting yes means they stay in. Can we recast the vote?
The first four clauses are carried on recorded vote of 6-4. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councilors Sullivan, Coley, Caputo, McCreary, and Martin. Those opposed, Councilor Carpenter, Hunt, Samwell, and Van Tilburg.
I will call the question on the balance of the motion.
The remaining clauses are carried on a recorded vote of 8-2. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councilors Sullivan, Sokoli, Caputo, McCreary, Martin, Samwell, and Van Tilburg. Those opposed, Councilor Carpenter and Hunt.
We will be taking a short 10-minute break. We'll be reconvening at 7:57. Thank you. We will now reconvene. We will now take up item 6.1.1, the Master Servicing Plan Amendment. Any discussion? Anyone? Call the vote.
Through the chair, my e-script. has
6.1.1.
So we'll just have to do it by a show of hands.
Show of hands.
All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried.
We'll now take up item 6.1.2, 2025 Transportation Master Plan Update. As was presentation, any discussion? Councillor Sokola.
Yes, everything transportation is definitely a hot topic, especially in Ward 1 right now with all the construction and the roadways throughout the entire city, but especially in Wards 1, 2, and 5 are just stretched absolutely thin right now. We have a lot of frustrated drivers, and I want to thank Selby for a lot of the work that you've done in easing what you can through this construction period. But I want to focus my comments on the West Arterial Road Extension project that we see listed here in the Transportation Master Plan update. And I have to say the amount of emails and texts and phone calls and Facebook comments, people stopping me in Sobeys. I conducted just a private survey of my own database, and it's overwhelmingly slanted right now in favor of building a roadway. Specifically in the proposed West Arterial Road expansion area. We need a new bridge crossing right now, and we're seeing this redundancy matters exponentially right now, not just for growth, but more importantly, just for the day-to-day realities of this growing city, especially Ward 1. So there are some concerns that I'm hearing, and I don't want to push past those at all. I know that there's a neighborhood that has some very legitimate and real concerns, and I'm not pretending that this is simple, and I know that we have strong feelings on both sides of this. So I've heard these concerns. I am committed to looking at all of the alignments, as we all will here at council, that will minimize any type of impact for the neighborhood. So I do want to let everyone know that it's in here, but there will be plenty of opportunity to see the plans, to share your thoughts for public consultation. So I know I'm going to start getting lots of calls and emails on this because it's going to be something that's front and center. So we do need to look at this seriously, though, without kicking this can down the road. This has been on the books since 1981. So since before I was born, we have been talking about this exact pathway. So I think it's time for us to make a decision. I'm glad to see it here. I'm glad to see that, or to hear that we still are looking at about having this being 96% covered by our DCs. So happy to see it here. To the people of Ward 1, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully coming, and I look forward to what this EA that we've begun is going to say. Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's nice to see the passion in Councillor Sokoli. She did leave out one thing, though. When we had the ice storm, ice flooding from the ice jam in 2018, it closed down the Lorne Bridge. And that showed us then that we needed another bridge over the river as well. So there's multiple reasons why we need to move that project forward. And speaking of the construction downtown, I had a complaint from a resident who said that it was reduced from 2 lanes to 1 for seemingly no reason for a very short distance, and then opened up to 2 again. And I raised that with some staff a couple of weeks ago. Has that issue been resolved?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Martin. If I can clarify, was that Brant Ave where it was 2 and then narrowed down to 1 and opened up?
Yes.
So that was to control the diversion of traffic into into the left turn lane and a through right. So that was why there was that control. So now we're just finishing. We are at the point, I believe we poured curb today. We should be doing sidewalk and paving. So we should open that up very shortly within the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor McCreary?
Sure, thank you very much. Well, we don't have a very good history of listening to the people who tell us what we need in the way of future transportation. The Oak Park Road extension, or as it's been rechristened, the West Arterial Corridor, that was a 1981 recommendation. But I will raise you the BSAR, which was first dreamed of in 1960. In fact, I have a copy of that at home. We ignored that one. We ignored the first iteration of the West Arterial Corridor. But the winner and all-time champion, of course, is the St. Paul Avenue Bridge, which was first recommended by the Dunnington Grubb study. I believe that was in 1914. And I'll hark back to what Councillor Sicoli said about recognizing the concerns of local residents. And one of the things that we do best here is moving ahead with things, but taking into account the way we can mitigate the impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. And that's most imperative for us to begin to go forward with this project while making sure that the people most directly impacted by that construction are not made to suffer a decline in their quality of life, or those who have loved ones in the next door property, make sure they have the opportunity to revere their departed with some degree of respect and calm. So it's good work the staff have done on this report today. It nails every single one of our deficits. And if anybody thinks that we don't need a new river crossing, take a drive by the Armory.
Councillor Van Tilburg?
Yeah, the 2016 flood made it very apparent. We had three bridges blocked. Could not get across anywhere, east to west. You had to go all the way around the highways to get there. So we knew right then and there we needed a bridge that was higher and to come across. Now, thing with the Oak Park Road, I think everybody's well aware of. And that's what I call, even though it's called now Western Arterial, people need to know what it is. It remains the graveyard that's there. And as long as it's going to come through the graveyard, near the graveyard, it's going to be a non-starter. And I think that the expansion of the environmental assessment that will be there, we'll be looking at options that are just outside of the graveyard. So we'll take that in mind. Now, for those who went through on other issues and gave it a hard no, just remember when people say hard no may not mean hard no within a half of a term or a term. So remember to read what they say, hear what they say, see what they campaign for or against, where they mean when you're judging on how they're taking care of your community and your values. So again, I knew we needed a bridge. At the time, I believe the mayor was running into a lot of pushback from councillors within Ward 1, multiple councillors, not just one, for that access part, because it was too controversial. And it is controversial. But I believe within the community of Brantford, the most controversial part remains the cemetery. And as long as the cemetery is left alone, I believe that there are good options for that road to come across and build that bridge that we need. But here we go with regards to Ward 5 and what I see happening with the traffic in Ward 5. I'm not convinced that the other changes are going to alleviate the traffic. That's where I can convincingly say I'm voting for this and that you'll be good till 2051, particularly to those on Erie Ave. Other people can be confident in that assessment. I am not. And therefore, I won't be actually supporting this plan under that reason.
Councillor Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to give some clarification to those that are watching from home. This is not the Oak Park Road, as everybody knows. And that's why it's been changed to the West Arterial Road. It's supposed to be a broader look at the potential of this bridge. Not necessarily coming down through the Oak Hill community. It could be coming up by Pleasant Ridge, could be closer to the airport. It's a very broad scope. We're getting information at this point. I just wanted to make that clear.
Mayor Davis?
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Sullivan's right. The environmental assessment's looking at couple of different options at the south end of the West Arterial. I want to talk about, why it is so important that we get this done, whichever route it is. What I'm talking about is Oak Park Road Extension, West Arterial. What I want you to do is think about, the Shellard Lane area is about 25,000 people now. That's the size of a small city. And think of the area that's in and around the old school restaurant on Paris Road. Those are the employment lands going right out to Oak Park Road and then going back towards King George Road. And that's 2,000 acres of land that will be available to accommodate the industries for the next 20 years. You may think, okay, what's 2,000 acres? Well, Glenhurst is 17 acres. This is the equivalent to 100 Glenhurst parks. That's the size. 20,000 jobs. How are they going to get the people in Shellard Lane of the 25,000 live there that want to work? A lot of them will have jobs up in that northwest. How do they get there? Brant Ave. Brant Ave, 10 years from now, will look like the traffic as it looks like right now with the construction, not to mention Lorne Bridge. And then also we hear about this, the hospital looking for a new site for the hospital. And, logically, and I must say, I have no idea what they're doing, but we hear that if you think about it logically, where would that be if it's not in its current site? And that would be somewhere in the boundary ranch, somewhere in the north end. And so for those 25,000 people in Shellard Lane, they need a direct connection to that area of the city for a lot of different reasons. And it would also reduce the stress and load in King George Road. It would reduce the stress and load in Colburn Street, Wayne Gretzky Parkway. It's just so desperately needed. We put it off. When I say we, I mean our community for decades. We all have joint responsibility in it. The time for dithering, the time for putting it off is gone. We have to move forward in a measured way, being mindful of the interests of the environment and residents. And I'm sure we're going to find it. I'm sure council will find it because it has to find it sooner rather than later.
Councilor Carpenter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I actually agree with most of what the mayor said about having an access point. We certainly do need one. And we also need to open up industrial lands. If we don't have industrial lands, we keep building houses, our tax future doesn't look very good. In fact, industrial land is the tax base we need to grow, and that's not happening. So we have that land down Paris Road, the Oak Park Road area for industrial land. We need to get that on stream ASAP because that's going to bring us tax revenue and access points. The other point where the traffic is congested is Clarence Street. Clarence and West Street is the jammed up corridor. In fact, maybe to staff, when you come down West Street to Clarence Street, you're heading to the Bulldogs game, you turn right onto Market Street. At least we could do is have that green light and advanced green for everybody that wants to turn left to go to the Bulldogs game. And there's actually only one lane coming forward. Might want to look at some of those lights for, that's why I raised it earlier. I think we can move some of this traffic around this with maybe a drive around and see how easy it moves, but that's one area where I could see the change. Clarence Street, of course, is a corridor, and I think it was mentioned, the BSAR was mentioned earlier. That's why I continue to vote. I know it's futile, but I continue to vote against selling the houses on Park Road South because I still think the BSR should have went through, and that was a good access point. And I think someday it's going to have to as well. I think we need all the routes, not just the ones that I've talked about. I think we need County Road 18. Maybe we should move resolution that province move County Road 18 inside our boundary so we can widen that road. But maybe the 4-lane County Road 18, which goes all the way to Mount Pleasant Street and then can go straight through that Farmers Field. Highway 24 would be a perfect ring road around the city, uniting both the county, the city, and Six Nations. If we could get that done with 3 groups and maybe 2 or 3 funders. So those are the kind of options that we need to do. So we have to support our transportation master plan. The one for Charing Cross Street going straight to Henry Street. That's been on the books for 30, 40 years. And the council members have taken it off the books because they said it's too expensive, 33 million. Well, I think we're spending more than that on other projects. So I'm just wondering about, I agree with you in your transportation master plan. I just hope that future councils will support it and we've got the finances to fund it. Thank you.
Not seeing any more first-time speakers. I'd like to chime in on this if I can. I do want to thank staff for an absolutely phenomenal report. There's a lot on this report that I've had conversations with them over the past 3 years. And certainly one of the most important ones on here is definitely an access route that can deal with West Brant, its traffic, and how it gets to and from where they need to go. I think years ago, our thinking was that people had to get to the 403 to commute to where they were working. And I think today, that's not necessarily what everybody's looking at. Everyone's trying to move in and around the city, especially to work. And the growth and development that's happened in the Northwest Industrial is crucial. And you see it every day on Brant Avenue. And, short of between now and then, the only way to move traffic on Brant Ave now is probably to eliminate any left-hand turn so that it actually keeps the traffic flowing, because we have no way of moving 20,000 people in and out of that city. I think what we're doing on Clarence, which will be coming up later here, and what's happening in that core is certainly going to be moving people around, which is vital. And as the mayor said, I guess this is the worst part about sitting in this chair. You have to listen to everybody before you get a chance to speak. But when you talk about the equivalency of 2,000 acres, I think you want to put that in retrospect. Toyota in Woodstock uses 800 acres. So we have an opportunity at some point in the city, if a car manufacturer or anyone of that magnitude wants to move in, we have the opportunity for them. If that happens, how are we going to get people to and from that spot? And I think it's very vital to that. And with the hospital, as much as at the beginning, I kind of was wondering, why would I want it taken out of our ward and what would happen to that situation? A new hospital in a new spot, such as the North End, not only is it a hospital that's very well needed, but what happens around a hospital after it gets built is what you really need to take a look at with the growth and expansion. And again, now we're moving more people in there with only 2 access routes, and one of them is going to be shut down in the next little while, as will the other one. So thank you, staff. I applaud this. And to anyone listening, I hope that you understand that we have your best interests at heart and in what we're trying to do here. Now, the second-time speakers, Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think you're wrong. It's not a disadvantage to talk last. It's sometimes an advantage because you hear what everybody else has to say. But, and that's one of the things I want to talk about. It's been said that we shouldn't build this road next to a cemetery. Well, every other cemetery in town is right on busy roads. You got Charing Cross and West Street, you got West Street and Clarence. It's to say that you shouldn't have a road next to a cemetery is kind of silly. And the cemetery we're talking about is next to a corridor that was set aside for this road. And that was done, I think, before anybody was interned there. So to say that you can't put a road there because people are interned next to it, because anybody's been through that cemetery, there's a big, wide grassed area. That's where the road's supposed to go. That's where it was always supposed to go since 1960, when the BSR plan was first enacted. So to vote against this because one of the things in here has a road going next to a cemetery is, I'm not sure what to call it, but it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because there's a lot of good work went into this. There's a lot of different routes that are being upgraded, and the timelines are set and positioned such that these things can progress logically. And I think staff have done a wonderful job on this. And I hope that nobody votes against this because of one minor issue. And ideally, this should pass unanimously so that future councillors can councils can look back and say, well, council approved this unanimously. We need to really seriously moving this forward, because if this can get kicked down the road any further, it's really gonna cause problems for Brand Ave, Clarence, West Street, St. Paul, at Ada Road, it's something that this needs to progress, and it needs to progress in the way that staff have put it forward. Thank you.
Not seeing any other speakers, we'll call the vote.
Item 6.1.2 carries a recorded vote of 7-2. Those voting in favor: Mayor Davis, Councilors Sokoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Martin, McCreary, and Carpenter. Those opposed, Councilors Van Tilburg and Samwell.
Mayor Davis, you had 6.1.4 separated. Clarence Street.
Yes, and I have an amendment I'd like to make. But first, I'll talk to it and then you can decide whether you want to hear the amendment. So this report, I think we can all agree, especially those, the councilors in Ward 5 and Wards 1, I guess anywhere in the city. If you're driving down Clarence Street and you know that one of the worst choke points in our road system is that Clarence Street between Dalhousie, Colburn, and Veterans Memorial. You get that left, people turning left onto going Colburn Street East, they back everything up. You've only got one turn lane for those who are coming off Dalhousie, going off onto Veterans Memorial into West Brant. We know it needs to be widened, unquestionably. And in fact, that was one of the projects that I pushed for from the day I became mayor. And I'm glad to see that we're finally seeing what it will look like. And no question, it's a difficult job to do because of the railway tracks and having to move hydro poles. It's not going to come cheap. But frankly, this project, I think, is a great bargain of value to our community at any price. I mean, obviously, we don't want to write a blank checkbook on it. So, but when you read the report, you got to pay careful attention to the last paragraph because the resolutions to receive it. It says, recognizing financial constraints, fiscal responsibility of the taxpayers of Brantford and future recommended roadways, staff do not recommend proceeding with this project. So I have an amendment that takes a different tact. So I'm prepared to do it now, or why don't I do it now? I think it'll generate discussion.
We could do it now. You have a seconder?
Actually,
Sokoli?
I think Councillor Samwell said sorry, I talked about this. I think we'll all support it. I hope. So this is to add a second paragraph besides receiving. And staff be directed to make every effort to include the Clarence Street widening project as part of the downtown infrastructure renewal project. And so my rationale for that is the last stage, that work down at that end of Dalhousie and Colburn Street. That's the last of the stages of the downtown renewal. So it's probably not for another 4 years before the work crews get there. And hopefully that gives us enough time to do the EA, do all the planning. Let's get it done. That's the time to do it. I think when you combine that with the widening of Veteran Memorial, and the bridge, which is in the short-term capital project, it's the bridging gap that gets us to the Oak Park Road widening, which we have to be realistic, won't be for another 10, 12 years. It's critical we do it. We've got an opportunity to do it. I understand the concerns of staff that it's going to be expensive, but this project is priceless to those that drive a lot in this community and anybody that goes in the downtown or going to West Brant. I think I've said enough. I think you know why I brought this forward and why I think it makes a lot of sense.
Councillor Sokoli?
Yes, thank you. Question for staff. I recall some time ago, we received a report about some of the most dangerous intersections in the city. And I believe like 3 of the 5 top ones were on Clarence, something like that. Is that still the case? if you recall.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Sokoli. Unfortunately, I do not know that. That would probably be if Selby does know or our friends at Operational Services.
Thank you, Jen. Sylvie Conguera, Commissioner of Public Works. Through you, the chair, that's correct, Councillor. It was one of the locations listed or intersections listed at the time. And it is still the same.
I assume nothing has changed because, you know, I drive around the city. Now, I want to make it clear that when we're talking about the transportation, or I should say the traffic congestion that we're experiencing in Ward 1, and this is a conversation that I've had over and over and over again with a lot of staff persons, especially I see Jen Elliott laughing in the back. We're going to be best friends by the end of this, I swear. But you know, it was always made very clear that the solution to the traffic problem that we're seeing in Ward 1 was always twofold. We just had some fulsome discussion, I think, about the new bridge access point, and that's part of the solution. But the second part of that is some major improvements to the inner city traffic flows. I know it's painful, but we're seeing some of those improvements being made right now with the turning from at the armories onto Brand Ave and then on the jug handle onto the Lorne Bridge. That's going to be 2 lanes of traffic. So that was one way that we were doing it. But another choking point that we were really looking at is clearance. So I am definitely going to be supporting the amendment that we continue to make improvements on clearance. I know it's going to be tough, but I think we need to look at it. I think we need to look at how much it's going to cost exactly to do all of that work. Of course, like it was said, I don't want to write a blank check, but I do think we need to look at this a little bit deeper. And this whole stretch is a choking point, the Clarence Ave. So I would like to keep that on the books and have a look at that. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Carpenter?
Yes, I'll be supporting it as well. I mean, it is a very expensive project and probably a higher priority than other expensive projects that'll be coming up. But the roads network and transportation network is an important project. This has been on the books for a long time. I remember when this first came up, we said we could move it farther to the north, towards Brand Ave. We had an opportunity. That was the design. This is because people are coming down Wayne Gretzky Parkway. They're coming down Coburn Street, or sorry, Duluth Street to Coburn Street, and making that left-hand turn heading into West Brant. That's clogging the lane up. The intent here is to put 2 lanes, but if we had another way for people to move instead of going down Wayne Gretzky Parkway to get to a bridge over the river on that side of the city, we wouldn't have this problem down there. But it's still one of the things, all the things that are in the transportation plan, all of them need to be done and more as the city grows. We're going to have the same problem. The Northlands, north of Powerline Road, that's going to be as big as Shelters Lane when that's finished. And we're going to have the same traffic problem up there in Wayne Gretzky Parkway and Park Road North and Powerline Road. And staff are taking proactive measures now in the transportation plan. So I will support this. It's going to be very expensive. We should maybe look at other alternatives as well. What are the alternatives? It's unfortunate we didn't get those railroad tracks. We wouldn't have that as an expense problem in the first place. We would have that access road there allowance. But the concept there was to put the double turning lanes in, and maybe even a single lane going straight into downtown is all that's required, and have the double turning lanes there. So I will support this because we need to do something at that intersection. We got to fix the intersection of Coburn and Clarence. And then we might want to look all the way down Clarence on how many access points do we need onto Clarence from the side streets to make those neighborhoods whole as well. Maybe have some certain streets being the main access points to Clarence Street, which is a thoroughfare. And maybe we need to think about how we maintain that as a thoroughfare by what houses need to not be there, whatever it needs to be done so that becomes a thoroughfare. And that's the only one that we got. That's the one that everybody's using now is West Street to Clarence Street over the bridge.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yeah, to the amendment, which is about tying the resolution of Clarence Street to the downtown improvement. I just want to thank the mayor for doing that. That treats it as a whole, a holistic project, a traffic network. And I just think that's the way. Did I jump in front of you, Councillor Samuel? Okay. So, and just to say that that's, you know, that doesn't treat it like it was some separate project. And I think that's why the change to the downtown, the roads going in and out are going to be different. And I think that this turn is going to be needed more at the time that it's ready to be built. And I'll save the rest of my comments for when we're on the main motion.
Counselor Samuel?
Thank you. So I'll be pleased to support this amendment tonight because the intersection that we're speaking about is needs to remain a priority, and I want to make sure that that stays something that we're going to move forward. And I think tying it to the downtown revitalization project is a very smart move. But even just regardless of that, just to make sure that safety and traffic movement is better, I think that I'm glad that we're going to keep this going. Thanks.
Counselor McCreary?
Chair, thank you. Well, the critical nature of this intersection is the byproduct of our decision some time ago not to build the road that would have connected in 1960 Colbert Street from end to end, and which morphed into the 90s to connect that to Wayne Gretzky Parkway. And the transportation master plan that we have it's organic. We need to do everything that's specified. That's the reason why we've got a problem with Clarence Street, is because we haven't acted on what past plans have indicated is necessary. We are debating an amendment that we don't see on the screen yet, though. I wonder if we could see that, because I'm not sure that I recognized that the mayor's direction to staff was direct enough, and I'd like to see that. There may be a need to modify the wording. And I would suggest that we remove the words "make every effort" and make it a direct direction to staff, and perhaps the mover and seconder would recognize that and agree that that's a friendly correction. Thank you. So now you can go ahead. Excellent. Thank you.
Not seeing any more first-time speakers. Counselor Martin for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to staff, is it safe to say that this project would be a lot cheaper if the railway tracks weren't there? And we went that way instead? Technology is wonderful, isn't it?
Through the chair to you, Councillor Martin. Yes, it could. We would reduce the property acquisition costs. We would reduce the hydro relocation costs and such.
Okay, and that rail line is used by one company. Has there been any further discussion to encourage them to relocate somewhere where they have access to a more utilized rail line?
So through the chair to you, Councillor Martin, I do know that there has been conversations with the company in particular, and those have not come to a successful conclusion. But our friends at ECDEV could probably still attempt to speak with them.
Yeah, as was said, this part of the project might be 3-4 years down the road. So hopefully in that 3-4 years, we can see some action there and maybe save a ton of money on this. Okay, thank you.
Not seeing any more first or second speakers. I'd like to say something. I'm definitely going to be supporting this because I think that is, I lived in Toronto for a lot of years. I haven't seen anything like I see at that intersection. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether you're coming from down Dalhousie, whether you're coming down Clarence, all of it is just, it's crazy. And then the lights being so close together, you end up making a turn only so you can stay parked again before you get to the next one. I think this is going to be an expensive venture, but one worth taking, because I think there's going to have to probably be a purchase of real estate somewhere down the line in order to have the lanes enhanced the way we have to. And but definitely going to be supporting this because it's a must and should become part of our downtown revitalization project. So with not seeing any other, Mayor Davis.
I wanted to say this, but we had this big, long discussion in the previous item in respect to traffic and what a critical issue it is for our community and having to do something, and this is the resolution where rubber meets the road.
Okay, not seeing anything. We will call a vote on the amendment.
The amendment is carried on a recorded vote of 8-1. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councilor Sokoli, Sullivan, Caputo, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, and Samwell. Those opposed, Councilor Martin.
We'll call the vote on the main motion. Oh, Councillor Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Chair. This has actually been a long time coming. It's not been easy. It's kind of, when you see the double left, you think, why haven't we done this? Why didn't we do this long ago? And quite frankly, for many years, there's been residents who said, just do that, which, you know, it's easy. And I'd say, yeah, it is. And then you'd go and you'd ask, I say, well, why can't we do that? There would be these reasons. I said, well, we do it on the Colburn to Gretzky. We got the double left. We got, you know, numerous places we have the double left. Dalhousie Street's wide, Clarence Street's pretty wide. What's the issue? Why can't we do it? And of course, it's because there's a lot of problems at that turn to make a left-hand turn there between the tracks, the angle of that corner. So you'd get back the same, but different. You can't do it. And unfortunately, making progress was becoming difficult. And yet persistence comes through on this, because each year the lineup's going up Dalhousie Street, all the way past Alfred Street, heading closer to Park Ave. And everybody's thinking we got a double left-hand turn. You're starting to watch people make some very dangerous moves, to the point that we said we got to install red light cameras. And then when we tried to put red light cameras, they said, well, we're gonna have to delay on that because it's kind of not a good fit. So something about that intersection is very problematic. And it's not just the tracks. So I'm really happy to see that no one gave up on this, that the no's, the barriers, the delays, there's going to be some pain and some problems when we do it. But here's the thing. Instead of being told, no, we can't do it and why we can't do it, we're saying we're going to do this and how we're going to do this. And I think this is the biggest change coming for getting that double lane done, and everybody be turning left soon.
Okay, not seeing any more speakers. We'll call the vote.
Item 6.1.4 carries on a recorded vote of 8-1. Those voting in favor, Mayor Davis, Councilor Sokoli, Sullivan, Caputo, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell. Those opposed, Councilor Martin.
There are no resolution on tonight's agenda. That there is one notice of motion. Councilor Carpenter, can you please read the title of your notice of motion?
Thank you. The creation of an elected deputy mayor position for the 2026 election.
Okay, please note that the notice of motion deadline for the next committee of the whole planning and administration meeting is next Thursday at 9 a.m. And with absolute pleasure, I now declare this meeting is adjourned.